All right, hello everyone. This is going to be, I believe, the last attack tutorial for this specific animation. Now that I'm saying that, I'm probably going to honestly contemplate making like an actual YouTube series where I create these animations in advance and then I edit them down so it's an easier bite-sized tutorial. Um, this has honestly been a blast creating these videos. I didn't expect how much I would love actually posting and witnessing people actually watching them. In my opinion, they're incredibly long, but the cool thing is you can actually see where my head is going. Even if I'm making mistakes, it's also important to take in consideration that we're going to make mistakes a lot when it comes to art. So the most important thing is that we continue to move forward even after we're making mistakes. So even as you witness me make mistakes throughout this entire tutorial, I'm still adamant about continuing and trying to make them better, which is really the philosophy of all art. It's going to suck at first because we just don't know how to do the particular art or the form that we're trying to create. And after taking some more time and working things out, it becomes even easier to articulate what we want to on the screen, on the paper, or in the medium that we're trying to work in. So with that said, without further ado, let's get into it. So first thing that I like to do as I'm reviewing my animation is I want to look through all of my poses and I want to make sure that they're hitting the same kind of energy. And as I was looking through this pose earlier, this pose really prepares my character to kind of launch upwards. And as it stands right now, my character doesn't look like they're ready to kind of launch an attack upwards. So, plain and simple, to combat that, I'm just going to rotate this character back a little bit. And as you can see, I'm getting this really gnarly squish here. And I don't want to squish my character too much. Remember earlier in the tutorial, you don't want the energy of these rings to feel broken. You can also use the controllers as a reference for how the energy is looking. And right now it's looking kind of crushed. And what I really want is for my character to feel more open. And to do that, all I need to do is wind that back a little bit, like so. And to kind of counter that so it's not too much. And as you can see, it definitely looks broken here. What I want to do is drive that back a little bit. Wind that back. Make sure that I still have a nice shape. I still have that nice shape. So I'm going to wind this back a little bit. And already that's making my character feel a lot better. So I think the last thing I want to do is probably get these two and then wind them both back a little bit more. Like so. And then let me just check the alternate view. I could drive this back a little bit more too, like so. And rotate that in. Okay, so see, even as I'm continuing to work forward, it's also good to look back and see like, hey, is this working? Is this something that I'm conveying well? I could probably move this head back a little bit. Drag the shoulder up like so. Give myself a better silhouette on that ear. And already that's looking better. Perfect. Awesome. And then the last thing I want to do is probably rotate this back more. I remember why. Oh, actually. Hold on. Animating on the wrong frame. Let's fix that really quick. Okay, so again, friendly reminder, if you ever accidentally animate on the wrong frame, just go ahead and cut these frames and then just paste them back, like so. That's assuming it works out right. And it didn't. So again, worst case scenario, if that is the case, that's okay, because you can always reanimate and it's always easier the second time. So let's go ahead and change this head. This head should be easier to translate. Let's cut that, paste that there. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So let's just fix this really quick. So again, now that I know how to do it even faster, I can click both of them really quick, drive it back like so, drive it up, and then last but not least, give myself a little bit more rotation on that body there. And as you can see, I probably have my settings a little whack. That's okay. So yeah, so also keep in mind, this is something that I often do, and you're witnessing it now. I constantly bounce around between project to project, and I constantly change my settings. So again, friendly reminder, if that ever happens where you're like, oh my gosh, what the hell, I have my auto span on. So I don't want my character to be automatically animated like this for me. So to fix that, I'm literally just gonna go to flat, stepped, and rather than like, oh crap, like what do I do for the rest of this? I'm literally just going to select the body, everything that I have animated or changed. Select that, this, that, and the head. I'm going to select, and you can see actually exactly where it's rotating and moving on the actual editor here. All you need to do is just select all of them in the timeline. And you're just going to click on flat tangents and step tangents. And automatically that's going to reblock everything out for you. And that's honestly feeling way, way better. So look at the energy of that too. The energy feels much better. I will say, however, that now that I fixed that, the hip can be changed a little bit. I don't want to mess around with this too much though. Let's just see what happens. That's funny. Sorry, I'm having fun. All right, so honestly, I think that's going to be okay for the time being. I do feel like this is a little weird. I wish the loincloth didn't cut in too much. I'm wondering if there's something else I could probably do. Yeah, we'll just do that. We'll cheat it then. We'll make it look like that. Let me go around the back to make sure that it doesn't look broken on the back. That makes more sense to me. It still looks really, really weird. Honestly, the only way to fix that though is if I were to just move the hips up, like so. But I definitely don't want to do that because I want my character to feel more crushed. So I'm just going to cheat it. Yeah, because it makes this energy feel a lot better. Okay, so now that I push that pose, again, I always want to look back at the older poses. I want to see like, okay, how's the energy of this? Does it flow into that? This is okay. I feel like that hand could probably go up more because it's a smaller character. However, I'm not going to try to push it too much. Again, what I really want to do is make sure that I execute all of these poses first, and then I can go back and start tinkering around with them. So I come down, and my character is going to come back up at this pose, and then my character is going to return back to this pose as the idle. So to make it easy on myself, what I'm going to do is select all my controls. So I'm going to, if you've not done this or seen this already, one thing that I like to do is I like to go into my layer editor. I'll create a brand new layer, put all of the controllers that I'm going to animate into that controller's layer, and then I'm going to select objects so that I have all the possible controllers that I want selected, and I'm going to key those all onto the frames that I want. So it's going to be frame 56, 77, 44, 38, 26, and then last but not least, frame 1. So now I know for a fact that all of these keys are definitely keyed on each frame. The reason I do this for everyone that is watching, the reason I do this is because I know for a fact that from this pose to this pose, I'm not going to get any weird, like missing tangents where things are going to be sliding out of nowhere. So say for instance, I key everything except for the hip. If I don't do that, when I go to auto spline, the hips are immediately just going to continue to rotate in this weird robotic fashion. I don't want that. I want my hips to hit from here to here, from here to here. So I know for a fact from this pose to this pose, as long as I have this everything keyed, all the controllers, I know that it's going to transition a lot more smoothly. It's going to transition smoother if you have each controller keyed on your keyframe. Keep that in mind. And if you have any weird, like foreign random movements, it's probably because we didn't do that. That's also an easy fix. All you need to do is select all of your controllers that you want keyed, and then you're going to press S on each keyframe to make sure that every controller is keyed on that keyframe. Also makes it a lot easier to mess around with your timing, because all you have to do is shift click, and then you can move all of the keys that were keyed on that frame, which is exactly what I'm going to do after I have keyed every single controller that I want. Okay, so now that we have that, let's do this. Let's make it easier on ourselves. Again, we want the first pose and the last pose to match. So this is the contact, that is the over, and then this is the return, and then this is back to the idle. So to make it easier, I'm just going to select all the controllers, select objects. That way I don't have to select like every single one. And now that I'm actually looking at this pose, it's like definitely broken there. So I'm going to fix that, like so. That feels better. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to select all the controllers. Select all the controllers on my first frame. And remember, because I want this to be a cycle, my first and my last frame have to be exactly the same. So I'm going to paste that there. So I know when my character comes, okay, so they come down for the anticipation. They're going to do the contact. After the contact comes the overshoot. And then after the overshoot, I'm going to come back. And then finally, I'm going to come back into my idle pose. Okay, perfect. So let's get that. That's good. I'm needing to fix this now. Okay, so this one's going to be really, really interesting. So same thing for this one. I definitely want to be able to kind of see the silhouette, even though it's kind of getting blocked right here. And it's really starting to contort on this torso here. So let me see if I can fix that. Okay, so here's what's happening. As I'm looking at this, I am seeing that my character is contorted. Now, that might not be a problem depending how fast we go through this. So if this happens really fast, then I don't really have to worry about that twist and stretch so much. However, it is definitely breaking our silhouette right here, and I do not want that. So I might have to cheat this. You're going to witness me probably having to cheat this now. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is a stronger pose. This is better technically. However, I can see that, yeah, so here's what I'm going to do now. What I want to do is I'm going to turn off my character, and I just want to look at the pose behind. So I definitely know that my stomach is curled over to this side. So if I'm looking at just zoom in, my belly button would theoretically probably be about right there. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to achieve that with my current rig, because when I do that, my character immediately starts to contort. So let's just attempt to see if we can do that. Okay, so if I'm looking at my character front on, again, my character would be theoretically rotated like so. However, I'm getting this really weird contortion. So let's see first and foremost if there is another controller that allows me to manipulate the body. this might be one of those situations where IK might actually be handy because I'm not getting the pose that I want from this character right now. So let's go ahead and check the orders really quick. It could be on the actual hip if I'm not mistaken. Okay, title. Okay, FK title. Oh, interesting. Cool. Okay, so rotation order, fabric control. Oh, that's right. I can get more fabric control. Let's turn that off for now. And it looks like I might not be able to manipulate the body. That's okay. Because worst case scenario, sometimes you just have to work with the rig. And unfortunately, that is something that kind of most animators have to deal with. Sometimes the rigger is just so bogged down with work that, you know, you got to work with what you have. So if that's the case, let's work with this then. So what I can try to do to hit this pose better is what I'm actually going to do is rotate this up, and then I just want to see if I can rotate this down to get a better shape. And it looks like the rotation really does happen on that point only and doesn't influence the one below. So it doesn't matter how much I try to contort this, I'm still going to get that weird bendy bit. So yeah, let's cheat it. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to cheat this somehow. So what I definitely want to do is I want to try to get the same energy, first and foremost. This is definitely not going to contort in the way that I want to. And as you can see, I'm getting that really bad break here. So another thing that I want everyone to keep in mind is you want to avoid squaring wherever possible, especially when energy and momentum is involved. Because the second you get squaring like you do right here, it automatically starts to break it. Because you want to make sure that you have curves. Just like any other drawing, any line of action, if I were to make a line of action for this, this would immediately break the pose, like so. So now my priority is bending the character in a way that has a nice arc and also does not break the energy of the motion, like so. So let's go back to our regular view. Let me Control Z. And let's see if we can fix this. Let's go all the way back. Before I contorted this. Okay. Actually, too far back. Okay, that's simple. Just copy and paste. Copy and paste. Okay. And the cool thing is I've really only got 3 more poses. Okay, so let's burn through those poses. Okay, so as I'm looking at this pose again, let's fix that head again really quick. And then I'll fix those eyes later. Okay. So let's go ahead and check this out. Okay, so my body is definitely contorting more this way. Oh man, I'm gonna really break this rig. Let's do it. All right. So, okay, so we've got that. I'm going to knock this arm down a little bit. Like so. Let's see if I can rotate this back. And that will hopefully allow me to... Oh man, I can really break this rig. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, they give me rotations on this. Awesome. Okay, hell yeah. Okay, sick. Sometimes they don't do that. Technically, your your arm is not supposed to bend this way, but they're letting me do it anyway, which is perfect, because this is a really good kind of overlap. And if I really, really can, what I would love to do is I would love to bend this arm back so much more that you can actually see the hand coming back on the silhouette like so. That way, when I turn on the silhouette, you can really see that this person is kind of like moved all of your energy towards that direction. And to kind of push it even further, let's do that. Make sure that my body's still kind of balanced. Down. So just looking at the silhouette, there's some things that I would fix here. But I think I can make that arc work. And at least the silhouette, you know what? Yeah, I'm not satisfied with this. Let me fix the silhouette a little bit more. So as you can see, I've kind of got like a really, really subtle, like it's starting to break a little bit like so. The energy of this is going like this. And I don't like that so much. What I would like is for my character to kind of bend down a little bit more like that. So that's actually a good marker for reference. Let me have my character bend a little bit more forward down this way. And let's check the curves here. Okay, so this is looking a little bit broken. Let's liven that up a little bit, and then I can squish this one a little bit more. Like so. Okay, and this is definitely going to contort the body, but I prefer, oh God. Oh man. All right. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Oh man, I am not at all going to be satisfied with that pose hit. Let's just look at what's happening to the body really quick. Let me turn off the reference. Yeah, that is a really gnarly contortion. Yeah, let me, as much as I don't want to, I will drive that back. Okay, and let me check the rest of these poses really quick. Okay, so right now, checking to make sure. Yeah, my mistake. I was accidentally animating on this frame. That's okay. Okay, so yeah, let's fix the contortion on this one. Okay, so obviously the chest is rotated far too much. Let's rotate that back. And I'll take that. To be honest, I'll take that. At the very least, this is okay enough for me to be like, you know what? Not at all satisfied with the contortion, but that's as far as I'll break it. Yeah, I'll leave that there. Let's see if I can drive this back more. Looks like probably not. That's okay. And then I wonder if I can drive this hand up. So again, what I'm trying to hit right now is at least, oh, perfect. Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So at least what I want to hit is the wrist so that you can see it on the other side. I really want you to feel that hand is coming as far as possible, really emphasizing the hit. And this one I can manipulate a little bit more, and let's see if I can. Yeah, this will be easy to manipulate. Okay, so the last thing that I'm not hitting as much as I want to. Oh god, that post is disgusting. Let's see where I manipulated the body on that one really quick. Okay, so before I get too excited, let me. Is that even a pose I was trying to hit? I think so. Wait. Yeah, before I get too excited, idle. Anticipation, contact, follow through, return, question mark? That's the return. Yeah, it's just a random frame. Let's cut that. All right. Okay, so if you can tell, the reason I'm scrubbing between these two right here is because I cannot see a clear movement for this hand right here. So this hand right here, the one I'm kind of moving in, oh god, not that one. This one right here. This hand, I want to watch my poses and make sure that I know where that hand is going. However, because this hand is higher, it's implied that it is this backhand, when in actuality, it is the lower hand that's coming down. So that's going to be confusing to people as they're watching this. That is a confusing transition or pose transition. What I want to do is make it so that your eye understands that this top hand is actually the bottom one here. To make that even more obvious, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive this hand right here up more than it's coming down. So to do that, let's just move the hand up. So this just needs to be higher than the other one. Like so. And that's so much easier to read. I don't know if you can see that, but I definitely feel it. And if I could push the arc a little bit further, what I would do is make this hand go up more. Get more flow of the energy there on the hands. And that way it's much easier to kind of follow where the hands are going. And I think what I would do is, this is too much of a pop on that hand right there. So what I would do, again, remember, don't forget timing and spacing. I'm going to drive that up like so. So it's less of a pop. And now you can clearly see where this hand is going. It's definitely lower than the other one, and it's less of an eyesore. However, as you can see, and it's so funny, as I'm doing this animation, I am learning myself. Timing and spacing also, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Not only does it apply to rotations, but it also applies to angles as well. So obviously angles are a part of rotations. However, as you can see here, it just kind of goes flat, this arm right here, all of a sudden. And I want a smoother transition from this arc to this one to now that one, which arcs up. So what I want is to have this arm come up even more. Just a little bit, so that your eye can process that the arm is still angled but then it's coming back like so. And I don't know if you can see it, but I definitely feel the change. So if I were to go back between this one and this one, it just feels flat and dead, and then it just kind of just continues to die on a flat rotation there. And it's not really moving much, but if I move it up a little bit more, then it feels like that hand is actually going somewhere down. And it's a much easier transition to see. That's so fun. I'm actually learning as I am teaching. Okay, so keep that in mind. Timing and spacing applies to not only the physical distance between two things, but also on rotations and arcs as well. Because I have a smoother arc, it reads much smoother than just having it dead in place. And this is literally probably one of the best attack animations I've done so far. All right, let's continue. Okay, so remember, idle, anticipation, contact, follow through, and now the return. The return is a lot easier. This one's probably going to require more finessing because, again, just like I was saying in the last 10 minutes, you want to make sure that your poses come back from one another in a reasonable way. So let's flip on the reference and let's see what the body's doing in this part. So at frame 56, my arm almost looks like it's making a 90-degree angle. So let's try to hit that. Along with looking at the rotations of the body, looks like my body is relatively flat to the camera. To kind of make sure that I am definitely seeing that, let's go to the front view. And you know what? I'm not going to make my keyframe on 56. I'm actually going to move my keyframe to 58 instead. So it's much easier for me because my body is flat at this point. What I will do is I'll do some more finessing with timing and spacing. I'm probably not going to have time to do in-betweens. I'm not going to have time to do in-betweens for this, but that's okay. Again, the main thing I want to convey with this tutorial is the emphasis and the importance of your key poses. Because if your key poses are strong, then really the in-betweens are only going to supplement those key poses. So let's make sure that we iron that out first. And again, to make it even easier, let's just get all the controllers, add selected objects. I'm going to make it easy on myself. And I'm sorry, not add selected objects, select objects. There we go, now I can see everything. So again, just like I was saying, the reason why it's incredibly helpful to have all your controls in one place is because now I know for a fact that all my controls are keyed on this keyframe. So if I move this keyframe, 2 layers down, I don't have to reanimate anything, I don't have to move anything other than the frames 2 frames forward. Super simple. And an even greater example, let's say I'm like, oh man, I wish that overlap happened 2 frames over. Boom, boom. Perfect. Now it happens 2 frames over. Super simple. And then I'll definitely have to fix this pose so it feels less weird. All right. So this is now the return. Just like I mentioned earlier in previous tutorials, just make it easy. Just make it so much easier. I'm literally just going to get these 2 controls and I'm going to zero out the rotations. Just like so. Making it much easier on myself. Now I don't have to worry about changing it back or manipulating it in the correct place. No, I can rely on just zeroing it out and then having it return. So next thing we want to do, where's the hip going? Let's see, hip's definitely coming back quite a bit. So for this one, I definitely want to favor one side over the other. So what I'm going to do for the distance now is I'm going to favor this side, coming back. Let's drive that up just a little bit more. Remember, you want to feel it, and I'm not really feeling it. So even though, actually, yeah, let's look from scene to scene. Sometimes you'll have to turn off your reference. Wow, it's not driving enough. Okay, so that's a prime example of like, oh, I'm not really feeling that animation. So this actually needs to come down even lower. I want you to feel the character really, really driving into place. And to push that even further, I'm going to lift this up. And then, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to push this even further. Much more dynamic pose. I'm going to kick that back even more. Okay, that feels way better. That feels like a much better pose. So as you can tell, again, lesson from Alexis, pushing your poses even further, almost to the breaking point, and then once you hit that breaking point, thinking, okay, now that I've broken this pose, let's see what I can do to bring it back just a little bit. You always want to try to push a little bit further if you're trying to get more elastic animations. And that's what I'm trying to do for this specific character. So if this was a more realistic character, I would totally tone that down quite a bit, but this is going to be of more help. So even just by looking at the silhouettes, I could definitely drive this hand up a little bit more. Maybe I can have this rotate back a little bit more. So it's less of a surprise. That feels better. And then maybe even lifting up this arm just a bit. There you go, that feels better. That way it's less of a kind of exaggeration. Okay, so that's working. Lifting up, launch, come back down. Coming down, and then lifting up. I don't want to lift up too much, because again, I want to favor one side over the other. So let's go back to the translate Y, and you know what, screw it. Even though I can't see it that well, you'll feel that compression coming back up. So you'll feel your character like, and then coming back up. So also remembering to favor one side over the other. And if I were to make an in-between, I would make an in-between probably right here as like an idle, where maybe my character's kind of like coming forward a little bit. Maybe. Or maybe they're just going back ever so slightly. So you can anticipate them coming down. Actually, yeah, that feels better. So just so you can see it, you can feel the difference of that. Which is kind of giving you a really cool arc too, because it's coming back, then it comes down, and then it launches forward and continues to go forward, like so. So again, I don't have time to actually implement this in between. Maybe after the semester's done, I'll definitely do that, and I'll continue this tutorial. But keep that in mind. You definitely want some in-betweens for these as well, even for this one. If I were to put an in-between, again, I would be like, okay, smack dab in the middle, favor one side over the other. In this case, I'd probably favor that side. And then, you know what? Actually, let me just show you, hypothetically, what the silhouette would look like. And even for this, I would hold that for as long as I can. Even like so. Because I really want you to feel the kind of motion and power that's happening here. So try that forward a little bit more. Maybe drive it back just a bit. Like so. So again, I only have a few in-betweens. If I had more time, I'd totally execute this a lot better. But as I said before, emphasizing the hips is what I'm doing first, and then I can start tinkering with all that good stuff later. So if you are doing this kind of animation for the attack, again, making sure that we are prioritizing the hips and then the feet, and then you can start messing around with the hands and arms. Friendly reminder, you should absolutely do the hips and feet first, because if you change your hips, you're going to have to change your arms, no matter how beautiful they look. Please keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete these in-betweens really quick. Go back to our, let's see, down pose, push that further, cut that out. Coming back now, perfect. Okay, so this is the last pose we'll do, and then we'll call it there for this tutorial. I'll just do a really quick kind of spline so you see what it looks like. It's gonna look super, super weird, just a heads up. But a friendly reminder, should I continue this tutorial forward, here is what I would do. I would finish my return, my recoiling pose. After that, I would start putting in my in-betweens, as many as needed, to clearly articulate the motion and the body mechanics of this attack. Once I've done that and I feel like the timing is really, really good on my blocking, remember, I'll still in between and blocking. Once I feel the timing and spacing from that, then what I'll do is I'll condense all of this to be really, really small. Again, I don't want this to be more than this should absolutely not be more than 2 seconds. So 48 is already too much. In a perfect world, I would actually make this attack less than 1 second, less than 24 frames. So that's something that I would do. I would get my in-betweens, then I would condense this to be really, really small, less than a second, and then you would feel that attack really, really quickly. Again, attacks should not be this long. If you saw someone coming at a 3-second attack, you'd be like, okay, and you would just dodge. So making your animations feel snappy is something that I'm going to do after I've done all the poses. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this last pose. Let's put on my reference again really quick. Let's go back into the regular view. I know that my character is definitely going to be facing front, so let's look at the front view. That's looking rather close. First thing I want to do though, remember the hips. So let's look at the hips here. Let's look at the translate Z. Remember, I'm favoring one side over the other. Okay, so now that I'm coming back, this foot is definitely going to be resting back down. So it's definitely not going to be rolling over. And to make sure, okay, so I've got that rotated, and then it comes back. Not completely, but definitely not the 11 that I had it at before. So let's see, I just want to make sure that's the one that rotates it, right? Okay, perfect. So let's make this -5. Actually, no, my foot doesn't move back until after. Okay, yeah, so actually, let's just keep that. Let's keep that at -11. because my foot does not come back until afterwards, and that's okay. What does come down though is the weight distribution. Definitely by frame 58, that weight comes down. So let's change that foot roll. Let's put that to 0. No, that's not it. I think is it this one? There we go. Okay. So by this point, my foot comes back and it's still rotating over. So my weight fully isn't distributed back. What I'm actually going to do is instead make this maybe like a 5. So that my foot still has somewhere to go. And by, I want to say, let's see. Yeah, by 65, that totally comes down all the way. Again, if I had time to make some in-betweens, I would do that. But I don't, so I'm going to cut that out. So there's that. Got that foot in. On the return. Let's see. This back foot definitely comes back more. So let's iron out that foot. This one, that was at 100. Oh, that's funky. Okay, so let's change that rotation. Definitely breaking that foot. Oh man, this is the most fun part. Honestly, figuring out what the hell I did. So I'm like, okay, so that's been rolled over to be broken. It's probably just my actual knee rotation. Let's see if I can fix that. Oh, this still looks broke as hell. Okay, so let's see what the foot's doing here. Okay, yeah, so that's, my rotation's way too broken. All right, so let's fix this foot. Remembering, look at reference. Let's see. That looks better, actually. The foot does, not the knee now. Okay, so let's look at that knee. Let's bring that closer. Bring that in a little bit more. Perfect. Remember, I'm trying to copy this frame as close as I can. And it looks like the foot is also coming back too. So let's jet that foot down a bit. Okay, so let's select the foot. Let's, no, not that one. Let's dial that down just a bit. Feeling the motion of that better. However, that knee has a really weird silhouette, so let's fix that knee a little bit. Feels better. Actually, yeah, no, let's definitely kick that back a little bit more. Okay. And then that's still feeling broken. I wonder if I can bend on the toes. Let's find out. Okay, and before I get too excited, let's save this. Always, always, always save, 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 save. Okay, so let's go attack animation. Call this 003 on my ASCII. Sorry. 06. Perfect. Okay. And let's check the left view. Oh, so that's interesting. Looks like this foot is already back by this point. Actually, I kind of like that more. Let's do that. So let's have this foot come back to its resting point so it doesn't look so broken. And yeah, that's gonna make this leg feel a lot better. So yeah, let me zero out all this good stuff. And then let's kick that knee back. Now, normally I would say that this being broken really hurts my eyes. However, if I adjust this pose ever so slightly, I'm debating if I want to favor one side over the other. So I come here. That's too samey. Okay, so what I'm looking at, just so everyone knows, is I'm looking at the hips and I'm determining, okay, like what about this is working, what's not working. Looking at this now, I'm coming in, I'm doing a swipe, and I don't want the distance to be too samey from this point to this point. So what I want to do is I really do want to favor one side over the other. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And even though I said I was going to try to fix this leg a little bit, let me dial it back actually. So rather than have it completely back, let's go maybe 25, negative 25. And if I'm looking at the foot, it looks like it's rotating on the toe. So it's coming back, it's rotating forward, then it comes back, but it rotates on the toe. Oh, which might pose some problems actually. So it looks like I actually didn't want this foot to come forward so much like it is. Okay, cool, yeah. So this is a great example of like me not looking at the right side reference. And now that I'm looking at the right side reference, my foot is not moving forward. What it's actually doing is it's just rotating in place. So what I would do now is I would get this foot and I would just fix this foot right here. And so it's not supposed to be rotating on that axis. Let's see, it should be rotating from itself on here, if I can find the controller. That actually makes more sense. Even though this is broken as hell, this actually makes more sense. So, now that I've seen this, let's see if I can maybe drive this back a little bit more. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do is trying to see if I can fix this where it doesn't feel so broken coming back. Okay, so let's sit down and actually put our thinking caps on. So as I'm adjusting this, here's the problem. The problem is that the foot is not rotating on the axis that it's supposed to be rotating on. My concern and my challenge is I want this foot to return back to where it once was, but I don't want it to feel like it's just sliding back out of nowhere. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go frame by frame and just see what's working here and what's not working. So if this is coming down and I'm moving my foot forward, I just want to see, like I want to get up and actually see if that's something that I can do. So if I were to swipe and move my leg forward, it actually kind of negates the energy that I'm getting from my attack. So now that I know that, I'm going to go back here and say, okay, well now I know that the foot should absolutely not be swinging forward at all. So I'm going to get this, keep that there. And now instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to, even though I made adjustments to this pose and I spent so much time working on it, I'm actually going to come in here and fix this pose so where it actually, again, looks like my character or my reference. And I'm going to now swivel this in the appropriate way, like so. And this looks like it's dead on. Let's make sure. Let's go to front view. It's almost dead on, just a wee bit more. Oh, it's maxed at 100. Okay, well then we'll keep it there. Okay, and then here is the option that I have. If I want to, I can make this wind up the most important thing that you see, and then you only see this frame for like maybe three frames at the most is what I would say. And then this happens in like the span of like 1 or 2 frames. So I am going to try to hit this pose to the best of my ability. Looking at this, yeah, let me see if I can actually do that. And then this back foot definitely needs to be kicked up more. So let's do that now. And that's actually going to help the shape too. You're about to see right now, as I lift this back foot up more, it's going to make it so that this is less crunched. So let's go ahead and do that now. Yeah, you can see like so. But then I'm also kind of breaking it and getting this weird shape. So let's try to minimize the breakage. I think that's as far as I'll go. A little bit more. Better shape. That'll do. I'll take that. I'll take what I can get. And then rather than this, I'm going to drive that back. Let's get rid of that in between again. And then I'm definitely going to have to change this foot back too. So what I'm going to do for this foot, I'm going to copy this last one. Copy this, paste that there. Perfect. Okay, so again, friendly reminder, sometimes you'll do something and you'll be like, oh, this looks awesome. And then as you look at your reference, you're like, ooh, it's definitely going to be difficult to come back into an idle. That's okay. You can always go back. That's the cool thing about especially 3D animation and even 2D animation is you can always scrap a pose and be like, well, that pose wasn't working. Let's make this one even better. So the next time you do an attack animation or something like this, it'll be much easier for you to have the foresight to be like, okay, let's see what the feet and the hips are doing first. So that's looking good. You know what? I'm actually going to copy and paste this as well. Like so. And then rather than have this one come out so far, I'm going to drive that back as well on the Z. Translate Z. So let's see if I can just drive all of these back more. Perfect. I wonder if I can drive it back even further. Let's see. I also want to make sure that that knee doesn't go too far. And actually, you know what? After reviewing this, I realize now that I'm going to have to move this front foot as well. So you might be inclined to say, oh crap, you gotta move the entire thing. No, actually. I just gotta select all the keyframes and just drive that back. Like that. And it looks like I'm definitely gonna have to move at least this foot back too. So again, super easy fix. Let's actually I might be able to keep that. Yeah, I can keep that. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna select all of these, I guess all of these keys here in the graph editor on the translate Z, and I'm just going to drive this back. Like that. So obviously I would love to have that really exaggerated pose, but I need that pose to be able to go somewhere. So I'm going to drive this back, and that way when my character is coming forward, it's much easier for me to get my character and drive the hips back more, so I don't get that broken leg so much. Like so. So remember, work smarter, not harder. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So, and then to make it even easier on myself, rather than actually animating on the controller, I'm just going to select my character, get the translate Z, and then drive all of this down. Drive it back. So let's grab all of these and just make them come down. Grab these. I'm going to go forward so I can actually see what I'm doing to these frames here. Come back like this. And then even on this x-axis, I don't want to drive it too much. So I'm going to adjust this as well until it's in a spot that feels right. And actually, I'll even say with this too. This first pose definitely needs to come forward a bit, so let's do that. Let's fix that. Okay, weight distribution feels better. Sorry, don't mind me as I finesse this. And then I'll tell you what, at 11:30 we'll take a break from this. I really just want to hit the major poses first. Drop that back, stretch out. It still feels way too stretched out, so I'm going to drop that back more. And you know what? Last but not least, I think I might drive this back foot forward more too. Before I get too excited, let's find out. That's going to make a big difference. Yeah, let's just see if that makes a big difference. Kicking that foot back in more. So as you can see, again, the importance of the feet and the hips. If those work, you don't have to worry about the upper body as much. But if they do not work, then you will have to adjust them accordingly. So let's go ahead and see what happens if I drive this forward more on the foot. Okay, so let's get that translate Z. Let's just see what happens if I move all of these forward more. That feels a lot better. A lot better. So almost to the point where it's not breaking anymore. Let me go to these poses really quick. That feels pretty good. I like that. Okay, yeah, cool. I think we've almost got it, actually. So that foot rotates in a lot more. I think the only unfortunate thing is that it's not letting me rotate more than this maximum point here, which is unfortunate because I would like to push this a lot more, and the only way to do that is if I were to rotate it like so. And again, I don't want to do that. So, but it looks like it's okay enough to kind of get the idea across. And at the end of the day, as long as it looks good, who cares how it works? So, and you'll find that there's a lot of animators who share that same sentiment. Okay, so let's now fix this. Okay, so we've got that. This knee is obviously broken, so let's break it even further by changing it up. Okay, so this knee looks like it's definitely not rotated in the exact way that's correct. To fix that, I think I just need to move this hip over, actually. There you go, that feels better. Okay, cool. Oh, way better. Okay, so we've almost fixed it. Okay, this should come back more. I actually want, yeah, let's look at the translate X, making sure that this isn't too far beyond. Fix that knee. And this leg should be rotating back now. Coming back down as well. So that's going to fix that leg a little bit. Perfect. Okay, cool. And let me select all my controls really quick. Select objects. No, not the controls. There we go. Okay. And then it looks like I got a stray. Yeah, I got a straight frame right there. Okay. Okay, cool. So, again, not at all what I was expecting at first. But now that I have adjusted it a little bit, I would definitely, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I would fix first. But I just want to look at it right now. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff that I would do in my in-betweens to kind of fix this further. But that does feel like a pretty good compression. If I'm looking at the silhouette, this works. This hand comes back like that, comes down. Looking at this, I still want a slight angle coming down here on the hand. So what I'm going to do is come here, angle that down a little bit, like so. feels better. Feels like a smoother transition. I would rotate that down a little bit more though. Like that. That feels good. And for this, last but not least, I know I said I was going to follow the reference. No. I actually want this arm to drag a little bit more. Along with this head too. So it's coming from this direction. I want you to feel that head kind of dragging. I'm going to rotate that head over a little bit more. So you really feel the character kind of lunging over for an attack. And then I want that face to still have some rotation on it. Coming back. So you feel the character really pulling themselves backwards. And even on this arm here, I still want some drag on that as well. So also remembering, this kind of goes for those who are doing the running. Keep in mind that you also want your arms to drag from where they're coming from, and it's going to give you a more satisfying comeback. And even this back arm right here, I still want you to be able to see it, but I still kind of want it to be a little bit more obscured. So I'm going to drive this back and then rotate in so you see less of it. See if we can do that just a little bit more. There we go. And then I also want kind of a subtle arc in there too. So what I'm going to do is lift that arm just up a little bit more. Like so. Now it's going to follow an arc. Okay. So, yes, to be honest, these are most of the major poses that I would want to hit. With that said, we've got a few more minutes. I kind of still want to show you what this would look like. You know, kind of, actually, let me check the foot really quick. Kind of make sure the first and last pose match. Yeah, I definitely want this one to be the matching pose. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to select all my controllers, select objects, copy this. Let's get that. Let's paste that over here, like so. Donezo. All right, this is just a heads up. This is not going to look the way I want it to. Actually, screw it. I'm going to make it the way I want it to. Okay, so this arm right here, this arm is already a pain in the ass for me, because if I'm looking at it, it's not following a very clear arc. So from this pose to this pose to this pose, it's just kind of like, it's flat here, and then just magically comes up there. So what I want to do is, I'm actually going to come here. I'm going to lift this arm up. Come down a little bit. Maybe have that rotated in a little bit more, so it feels like it's really dragging. Let me get that arm again. correct pose. Select objects. I'm gonna cut this. Paste that there. And then have this elbow come up just a little bit more. You know what, to make this even funkier, let's drive that down a little bit for a better silhouette, and then we'll drive this up just a wee bit and have that drive in like so. Look at that. Remember, I still want it to come up just a little bit. So we're going to drive this arm up. Put the shoulder. There we go. Now it feels like it's dragging. But it looks like I lifted it up a little bit too much. So let me just lower the arm just a little bit more. There you go. That way it feels like it's going somewhere. Just a little bit more finessing, fine finessing now. There you go. So having that drag feels better. I'm gonna be totally honest with you all, as I am looking at this, the feet need more in-betweens because they're definitely gonna feel like they're sliding, but let's just see what it looks like when all of it is splined. And let me give you even more of a reason to make sure you do in-betweens for your animations as well. Okay, so let me go ahead and save this really quick. Save scene as, let's save this as iteration number 7. And for those who are still interested, to be honest, I think I'm going to continue this animation even after this class is over. Again, I know I've told you in the past, but my main priority is to give you the tools necessary to be successful. And learning does not stop after the semester. So rest assured, everyone who's watching right now, I am probably going to go back into this animation somewhere down the line and push it even further. So that at least you can see where my thought process is. So with all that said and done, let's go ahead and select objects. Let's just see what it looks like when it's splined from here. So let's go ahead and give this a quick spline. Got some gnarly circles going. And by the way, this is going to be painfully slow when you watch. But let's just see what it looks like. Oh yeah, look at that slide. All right, so again, a prime example of this is where I would put some in-betweens. So looking at this now, just like I was saying before, I would put an in-between right here so it just doesn't immediately go down. Let me just show you really quick what it would look like if I did add some in-betweens to this animation. So let's look at select objects. Let's quickly, I'm gonna find the very middle. I'm going to jet this down a little bit really quick. Let's jet this down, jet that back. Remember, I'm going to favor one side over the other. It's going to come down a little bit, perhaps come up. Oh, I forgot I'm animating a block, by the way, before I get too excited. You know what? Yeah, let's animate this whole thing in block first, and then I'll respline. Okay, so apologies everyone. I told you I was not going to continue to animate, but I'm experiencing a crippling addiction to animation, and I must do this for my own mental well-being. So, okay, so let me make sure that everything's still blocked. Okay, so literally all I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some quick blocking so that at least when you're doing your own animation for this, you are set up for better success, and I'm clearly telling you now why it's so important to have these in-betweens. So for this one, I actually want to drive this down and maybe a little bit forward. So let me cut this one out. Yeah, I'm only going to do this on the hips, although if I really wanted to, what I would do is I would push this even further. Push up there, there. That would technically rotate a little bit more. That would come in more, rotate further like that. This would come back ever so slightly. And this is where this would come back more. Like so. Okay, so that's good enough. Just showing you really quick what it would look like with your in-betweens. Make sure, the point I'm trying to make is that you in-between. And making sure that everything's selected, select objects. Make sure that everything is splined. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so the timing feels a little bit better, but again, as you can tell, without the rotation and the hands, it would still be a little weird. Again, what I would do is literally I would just go in, make it easy on myself, find the frames that I have keyed, select all my controllers, select all objects. Now that I have all these in-betweens, I would select all of these, go to every single in-between, and key every single frame. Like so. And then after doing that, I would go in and start cleaning it up. So I would go here, let's just say for instance, this right here. I would alter this, I would change this, making sure that things aren't stagnant, like I would adjust that. So making sure that you go into your in-betweens and favoring size, just like I have done in the previous tutorials, just so you all know. So with that, I think that's a good place to take a good break. So we'll call that there for now. But please, everyone, if you're watching this tutorial, please, 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 do not immediately go into spline. There still needs to be a lot of in-between work that has to be done. But the main thing that I wanted to show you is, again, how important it is to get these poses in. You want to make sure, and again, the last thing I'm going to cover before we call it, you want to make sure you have your idle pose, your anticipation, your contact pose, your overlapping or your follow through, your recoil or your return, and then finally, last but not least, you will go back into your idle pose, like so. Okay? So, that's it for this tutorial. Again, when I find time after the semester's done, I will definitely continue to work on this. And again, I am very interested in continuing to develop and grow this YouTube channel. So it's just more accessible and it's easier for you to watch, so you're not just watching hours and hours of animation. More condensed, hopefully of better use to you. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, I'll probably take a look at this later, but remember the poses that are most important for this: idle, anticipation, contact, overlap or follow through, return, and then last but not least, the idle. And then please, please, please make sure that you go in and add as many in-betweens as you need to make sure that the animation doesn't feel wobbly and less grounded. All right? But thank you for watching. And again, I'll probably end up making another tutorial after this one when the semester is over.